Welcome to Legends with Bevo. Thanks to the Holdy, Coopers, Anytime Fitness Glenelg, and Paradise Mazda. And now, here's your host, Bevo.
Well, g'day and welcome to another edition of Legends with Bevo. Today we're down at the beautiful Henley Beach, and boy am I glad to be sitting next to one of the real characters from the SANFL footy, and we saw him this year doing great things on Married at First Sight on Channel 9 Network, MAFS as people like to call it. It's the big fella, Seb Guilhaus. Great to have you on Legends with Bevo. I think we can shake hands now. We can shake hands finally.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh mate, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing your journey, obviously with the footy first, and then this year doing great things on Married at First Sight. Let's talk about MAFS though.
Yeah, sure, yep.
Talk about the experience, and I guess what made you decide to want to go on there?
MAFS, it was crazy. I think the greatest experience in life I've had to date, to be honest. But yes, why did I choose to go on there? I'd been single for 8 years, and I wasn't doing myself any favours. I sort of, after my first long-term relationship, I just sort of went into a cave and didn't really date. I didn't sort of push to meet anyone new. I sort of expected that someone would sort of just appear, the one would appear, because that relationship ended badly. It ended up being quite toxic. And so after that point, I sort of thought, okay, well, I'm not going to push for it anymore. When it's time, it's time. And then 8 years passed. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm clearly, insane or not doing myself any favors. So I'm like, okay. And my housemate was a fanatic. And he goes, why don't you apply? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm all about life experiences. I'm a very open-minded human being. And in hindsight, it was probably one of the best things I've ever done. So yeah.
Well done to you, mate. Now, I've done an audition before for Daddy in the Dark. That was a show on Foxtel back in the day, and got very close to it. And the audition process was a lot of fun. It was a good bit of fun as well. Were they doing the audition process for MAFS? Or?
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, there was an initial sort of Skype interview, which was pretty cool, and that sort of went on, because once you sort of get me started, I'm probably like you, Bev. I love a deep and meaningful conversation. Talking about the real stuff. Anyway, that went on, and then there was psych testing. Series of different tests. Then a face-to-face interview in Adelaide, where So I was confronted by a panel. It was very intimidating, but it was really great. And then there was the medical, and then evaluation from sort of the psychologist and things to make sure that I could handle the pressure of the show, and and then finally down the track. It was a long process. Yeah,
that is a long process.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. And talk to us through that particular day when you were there. Standing, obviously all those nerves as well, and you had no idea who you were about to get matched up with, and then as walking down the aisle, you see the lovely Lizzie from last year's Married at First Sight, who I'm sure you remember. What was your reaction like when you saw that it was actually Lizzie there, someone actually knew?
Well, Bev, I actually, until halfway through the vows, you might not know this, until halfway through the vows, I didn't know it was Liz. I had no idea it was Liz. I was honest to God. When she started saying that, I got married last year, and you can see on my face, if you look back at see my face going, oh, isn't that a bit fresh? Are you sure you're ready to recommit to someone? I honestly didn't know. And then it finally clicked, because everyone else, all the guests and things, they knew what was going on, and I'm like, oh, afterwards I just felt like an idiot. But when I did, I wasn't so like shocked or like it didn't really faze me, to be honest. It didn't really, because I only watched parts of like the season before. I wasn't so embedded in it, so I didn't really know I knew that she had a bad time, but that's really about it.
Okay, and the connection you had with Lizzie obviously was a really good one, which is fantastic, because you see a lot of, unfortunately, relationships that don't go so well, and that's natural when it's a situation like this where you don't know each other. But what was the connection with you and Lizzie so strong, do you think?
I think we're just sort of like-minded people. Like, if you could put it down, there's some people that you, like us, Bev, you instantly sort of gel with and feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, with Liz and I, very rapidly, we didn't have to say too much, but we've developed that comfort. And I think that was just a sign that we both had similar core values, similar beliefs, just similar sorts of people, I guess. In a lot of ways. In a lot of ways not, with maybe our similarities in maybe some of the things we like to do. But in our core base, we're very similar people, and both dreamy, creative Pisces types as well. So, it just worked.
Well, mate, it's so good to see you. Look how happy you are. So, and going forward from here, what's the plans? Are you going to move to Sydney, or is it a bit early to say, or what's?
I want to move to Sydney. So actually, Bev, I had been talking to a football club over there, which would hopefully ease that transition. However, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know whether I'll be able to fully throw myself into football with all the things that I'm starting to build and all the training I'm doing, you know, with developing SG wellness and things like that. So I don't know if I can do both. Either way, I'm still want to be over in Sydney in the next few months when we can.
Yeah, exciting. Very exciting for you going forward. And the dinner parties, now this is something, controversial dinner party. Every year you hear the same thing, like it's going to be a controversial dinner party. I'm going to ask you, mates, do the producers pump you guys up with drinks, or do they tell people, you know, you've got to say something controversial? Because every week and every year there's always a controversial dinner party where stuff just gets out of control. Like, what's the story there?
No. Look, there's no script. There's no script. There's just a lot of footage, and I guess it's edited down to certain sort of fiery,
Situations?
difficult for me to talk about this. Situations, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think you got to understand that although it is a TV show, we are being very vulnerable very often. We are trying to forge relationships. There is compatibility and there's incompatibility. So I guess when you combine all these pressures, when you're discussing where you're at openly in an open forum, I mean, you're going to get fire. You're going to get fire. It's going to be uncomfortable. Some people aren't going as well as others, and that's what I think. And that maybe combined with a little bit of alcohol, you got to understand that it's not under legal obligations. They can't get us. We can't be drunk.
Ah, okay.
They can't film us while we're visibly intoxicated. So although we have a few drinks, then that gets taken away. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And what's it like being actually in these situations when there's all this conflict going on? It must be like, wow, you know, where's my popcorn? Where's my drink?
No, not for me, Bev. Like, I don't like watching people squirm, and there's nothing worse than when you're in a tight-knit space with a lot of people and you're, you know, observing people under really awkward, uncomfortable circumstances. Yeah, some of it's, you know, like really great and it's all laughable. When it starts to get, you know, it can be a bit daunting. It can be a bit too much. As the empath that I feel I am, it's a bit too much to take on.
Okay, well let's talk about something that's a different topic. Get off the MAFS side, because a lot of people might forget, but you actually had 48 great games of SANFL footy. You played at 3 different clubs. You played 7 games with the Bays, 23 with the Doggies, and then 18 at the Eagles. Talk to us through the footy journey and I guess your pathway from juniors through to playing SANFL League.
Yes, well, I actually started playing football when I was 17 years old. So I was actually a soccer player. Hence why you can probably tell by my lack of sort of natural skills and ball reading ability. I was more of an athlete, you know. I always had the strength, the speed, and those other aspects. But I never really had some of the stuff that you get when you're a junior playing, you know, developing. But I started at the Bay. Bay was my territory, in a sense, my zone. Started there playing 19s and then reserves in the first year, and then sort of rose quite rapidly. And then at 19 years old, I played my first league games for the Bays. But then it was all too overwhelming for me. I think at that stage of my life, I was very searching as a person anyway. I was not super grounded in general, searching for my identity and my passions, and so that translated to my football, because SNFL is a serious like level, and you need to be fully committed. You need to be grounded. You need to be. It's a lot. And at that stage, as a young fella, I wasn't. So I left and went back, and I did this a few times until I was really ready for that level, and I was grounded and I was confident, because I kept coming back to SNFL because there's nothing better, I think, in life than pushing yourself to the limits that you can go. There's no better feeling, sense of fulfillment, I guess, than knowing you're sort of using yourself to your max. But yes, so anyway, I went for the bays. I was just going as a story, as it would have been a little bit too long.
No, you go, mate. You go. It's all good.
You just grab each piece and try to connect them together and work out a timeline. So I was at the bays. I went back to local football. Then I went to the Eagles for a season. Michael Godden, when he first went to the club, got me over.
Great fella. Yeah.
Awesome fella. Fantastic coach. And he's doing wonderful things at Adelaide Crows. Well, not this season, but, in general, yes. Anyway, so yes, went back to the Eagles. Then I went back out to country football. Then I went to Centrals, had my best year of football, where I got in the team of the year for first ruck, which I was proud about.
Well done, mate. Yeah.
And then football was going really well. Football was great, but then I'm all about talking about balance as well. The balance of my life wasn't good, and I was searching in the career aspect of things. And so I decided to go to Darwin, and with football I decided to get an in construction. And so I tried the mines, 4 weeks on, 1 week off, and I did that. And I stayed up there playing state football with NT Thunder and local football back to back.
Wow. That must have been hot up there playing for you there.
So, it was extreme playing both seasons. So there's no break, is there? No break or 1 week break in between seasons?
Not much.
Not much. And so I did that for a long time. I feel like I aged about 100 years, I feel like Gandalf, the grey walking around now. But yeah, I did that. And then I came back and I was like, okay, well, I've still got the hunger. And then got stuck back into the Eagles, and we nearly had some really great success at the end of 18, wasn't it?
Yes, we'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah. And now obviously the show, and so now I'm not really sure whether I can cater to the big boy footy. Yeah, watch your space with that one, hey? Yeah. Okay, let's talk about something that's you were very, very passionate about, Seb, and you came out, you weren't shy, you got on social media, you got yourself in a bit of trouble, but nothing wrong with that because we're all allowed to say their opinions. But the 19th man, 2018, for those that forget, North Adelaide had 19 men on the field in the last term, and you were there, you were playing in the game. Talk to us through the situation there and what was going through your head when this happened. So we had an enormous lead, and then, as happens with football, I don't know, something mystical happens in these games, and I don't know, there's a switch flicked, and for a while there we were 47 points up. I think we adopted the mentality that we had it. We were feeling maybe a bit too comfortable, and we sort of got a little bit complacent, but the margin started to come back, and then there was a point where it was really, we didn't have the football, we were getting dominated, and I was at full forward at the time, and then when I forget exactly when the call came out that it was not until after all I was just watching goals getting scored. I was watching from full forward. I was just watching goals getting
scored. You're probably catching a cold.
I was catching a cold. It was devastating. I was like, ah! Because we were in panic mode because, having an extra man on the field, it's huge. You scurry around. Obviously, at the level of structures at that. With SANFL footy is huge, so everyone's got a man, and when there's a free man floating about, you've got the coaches no doubt up in the box going, what is going on? It's a massive thing. And then obviously a devastating finish, and then we hear about that, and it was just sort of, we thought that we might have, I thought naturally, because this was an error, this it happened, but okay, so we'll play again, We'll play again. I think that's fair, considering the final margin was 5 or 8 points or 5 points. I thought, maybe we'll get another chance to go. And so I sort of blew up, unfortunately, and I copped it from the SNFL naturally because I defamed, the name, and that sort of wasn't my intention. What my intention was just righteousness, I guess.
Yeah, which you have every right to do. I think actually what you said spot on. I think replaying the game would have been the best thing to do. So I'm really surprised I didn't do that. But anyway, it's all past now anyway. So and also let's talk about, you mentioned at the start of the segment as well about the big SG wellness program that you've got happening, and you've got lots of clients going with that, and you've also got some live streaming happening as well. Tell us more about this and how people can get involved, then.
Yes. Thanks, Bev. Well, I've always been involved with health and fitness, but I've also been as a junior, as a youngster as well. It's stuck in my head. I was very, very anxious as a youngster, and I was very complex and maybe felt misunderstood for many years. And so over the years, I've developed a sort of love. I'm obviously a very positive person, but the understanding that fitness is one thing, health is one thing, but it's broader than that. Happiness is a broader, I don't know what word to use there, is broader than that, okay? Broader than just fitness. You can't have, this is what Drew from MAFS said to me. He goes, so what you're trying to say, Seb, is it's fine having a six-pack on the outside, but it's no good if you don't have one on the inside.
I like it.
Okay, and so I'm thinking. So now that the show is finished, and I'm continuing on with what I'm doing with my health and fitness. What I want to emphasise wellness. I want to emphasise happiness. So what I'm doing is, because I've got this fantastic following and this group of people, I've asked them to send me their stories. People email me their stories, and why? Because I actually train them for free Bevo for 2 weeks.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. So to sort of get this movement going, because it does spread. I know toxicity and negativity can spread as well, but so can positivity and wellness. Trust me, it does, as you know.
Yeah.
As we talked about before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had people send me their stories about why they'd really need to get their habits formed and into a regime, and why it would really help them. I've sieved through, and so I had Sheridan and Sophie for the first 2 weeks, and I can tell you now it's been a month now, because I've now got the next two. I've got Jamie and Rachel, who I'm training every morning and with them. But it helps. Sometimes all that people need is a kickstart with their habits, with their mentality, to pull themselves out of certain ruts, and to basically just, I think the worst thing you can do at certain times is be sedentary, is be static, and be stuck in your head, I think. Yeah, so the idea is wellness. So that's the sort of brand and the image that I'm sort of trying to build at the moment.
Wonderful, mate. I love it. And how can people get involved? Is there a Facebook page for this, or is it on your website, or what's the situation there, Sid?
Yeah. Well, you can get in touch. You can either. It's probably best to email me at my www.sebastiangilhaus.com.
Yep.
.au. Probably best to contact me through there. There's a contact form. Connect with your inquiries, whatever it might be. Otherwise, Instagram. But Instagram is overloaded. It's very difficult to or you can get me on Facebook. Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
Beautiful, I love it. And before I let you go, let's end on a light-hearted note.
Yeah.
I heard from I won't name the teammate's name, but a teammate from the Eagles told me a story one time that you did something quite funny in front of your beloved fans with the Eagles after one of the games, where you, bit of a Frank the Tank from old school. Tell us more about that. What happened?
Yeah. So there's a movie that I love, and I love reenacting a scene from it. It's from the movie Old School. It's not the Frank the Tank scene. But basically, all the sponsors were there, all the players, all the coaches. It was a packed room, and one of the players decided to get me up to do my scene, which I did at the Players' Day. That's how they knew about it. And so I got up, and there was some elderly people, some different ages, just going, "What is this? What's this guy doing?" Anyway, I reenacted a scene from the movie where basically Will Ferrell. We all know Will Ferrell. He picks up a tranquilizer gun and accidentally shoots himself in the neck, and then it starts going into slow-mo. Anyway, I reenacted this scene with little context, and the entire room was like, who did you just recruit? What is going on here? Yeah, that's great.
That is amazing. Oh, Seb, I love your positivity and your energy, mate. It's awesome. Thanks for sharing that story. Sure. It's been a blast hearing your story from MAFS and also your footy journey so far, mate. All the very best in Sydney and everything going forward, and hopefully be able to keep in touch and catch up next time you're in Adelaide. And best of luck with Lizzie. You're such a ripping bloke, mate. 8 years being single with the guns that you've got there. What is wrong with ladies? But I'm glad.
It's my fault, bro. It's my fault, bro.
I'm glad that you and Lizzie connected so well. And I wish you all the best, mate, for the future.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, buddy.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me. You're wonderful.
My pleasure. Take care. See you next time.
Good man.